Thank you so much for staying with us on Prime Morning. And we're going to have ample time this morning to talk about something that we often leave unspoken of, and that has to do with childhood cancers. Remember, this month, September, is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we're doing exactly that. We're throwing a light on childhood cancers. Now, did you know that all over the world there are about 400,000 cases plus of children, adolescents with all kinds of childhood cancers? In Ghana, in our own context, there are over 1,200 of them, and that, from what I hear, is even on the small side. From lymphomas to sarcomas to retinoblastoma to Wilms tumor and all of that. We're going to be talking about them and letting you know about how our children are surviving, what the survival rates are, what you should be looking out for, especially as a parent, the cost of treatment, and one woman who has taken up the task and is helping those who actually have some of these cancers to survive. If you could hear all that raucous in the background, it is from Ajua Adepa Mafo. She's a 6-month-old baby, and she's a survivor of retinoblastoma, which basically is the cells or the tissue of the retina overdeveloping and creating problems. She's here, she's a survivor, and you can see her right there. I think I should say good morning to Adepa. Adepa, hello, Adepa. Hi. She's so friendly, a lovely, lovely personality, and she joins us. Her mother is also here. She'll be sharing her story. Mercy Mafo is the mother. We also have Gabriel Lenugo. Gabriel, how are you?
Please, I'm fine.
Great. You're looking good.
Yes.
I watched you. I've seen your progress, and you're doing very well. It appears you've gained a lot of weight too, judging from how heavy you were weighing on that seat. Gabriel is a 10-year-old, and he is also a survivor of Wilms tumor, and he's going to be sharing his story with us. We also have Ekuya Sapong, and I'm going to have ample time to discuss with Ekuya Sapong. She's Executive Secretary, Lifeline for Childhood Cancer Ghana, and they're doing a whole lot to alleviate the burden of these young ones. Also joining the conversation is oncologist Dr. Ella Amuako. Oncology is simply that branch of medicine focusing on tumors, lymphomas, and the rest. She will join us via Zoom. Owing to the doctor's schedule, I'm going to start with her after I've said good morning to everybody here, and we'll find out what exactly these childhood tumors are, the range of them, what to look out for, and then we shall come into the studio and get some real-life experiences from Gabriel and Ajua Adepe's mother. But we have Ekuya Sapong, we have Mercy Mafo, we have Gabriel Lenugo. I think we should now go via Zoom. If we have Dr. Ella Amuako. Doc, a very good morning to you. Please unmute if you can hear me, Doc.
Hi, good morning.
Great, great. And if you could just speak up a little for me, I'd be grateful. It's awesome having you, Doc. Now, this bit about oncology, I was just explaining, trying in my layman's way to explain oncology. You're a doctor of oncology. What is that branch of medicine, basically?
Okay, so I'm a pediatric oncology fellow, and pediatric oncologists are doctors who treat children with cancers specifically. And I am a fellow in training, so I'm still in my training, and I hope to be done with the training soon to join the numbers of pediatric oncologists in Ghana.
Right. So let's zoom right into it. I know that we're getting increasing cases of cancers, different types, from leukemia to retinoblastoma, in our children, and we've seen the statistics in Ghana. What are the most common cancers that we are seeing rearing their heads in our country? Please unmute, Doc, if you can hear me.
So far, the most common Leukemia Teaching Hospital. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
So from the numbers from Komfanochi and the Curable Teaching Hospital, the most common are the lymphomas put together, and lymphomas simply being cancers that affect your lymphatic system, so your lymph nodes and immune system. And then next, after that is leukemia. So leukemias are cancers that affect the blood. And then we go on to retinoblastoma, which is the cancers that affect the retina, the eyes. And the next is Wilms tumor. That's cancers that affect kidneys in children. And then we have the others that follow.
Right. So is it correct, the prevalence rates that we are talking about, every year recording about 1,200 of these cases? And for example, at the Curable Teaching Hospital where you work, about how many of these do you have that you're treating currently?
Okay, so every year we expect actually to get 1,200 children. This is based on extrapolations from population-based studies, okay? Unfortunately, we are still seeing about maybe 400, both between Komfanochi and Curable, we are seeing just about 400. So we are only seeing about a third of the children who are actually diagnosed with cancer. In Curable last year, 2020, I think the numbers were 222. That was the highest number that had been recorded. Previous years, we used to see about 170, 180 children. And Komfanochi sees just around the same number, 100. Now it's about 300 and something, but we expect to see about 1,200 children every year diagnosed with cancer based on population extrapolations. Unfortunately, we are only seeing a third of these children presenting for treatment.
And it's important that point you made at the tail end, because per the statistics, about 80% of children who get cancers are in the developing countries, in the developing world, yet only about 20 to 30% of them actually get treatment. The question is why? Most
of the times, people don't present early for treatment. Most people don't even know that children have cancer. Last week, there was some awareness creation in Cape Coast, and going around just talking to people, telling them about childhood cancers. A lot of people were like, oh, really? Do children get cancers too? Some people in the healthcare sectors are not trained to pick up the signs of childhood cancers, not because they don't know, but because they've probably not encountered a lot of children with cancers. And in Ghana, a population of 30.8 million, the 2016 statistics says 38.2% of our population is under 14 years. So that's like a third of our population is under 14 years.
Right.
And for this population, we have only 5 pediatric oncologists treating all these children. So you can imagine that most of them would be missed.
Right.
And then it also comes down to beliefs. People don't believe. People have the sickness. They would rather go to church, or they'll go to
get herbal treatment,
shrine, or they'll go to a traditional healer. Yes, so these people would also be missed.
Right. But I know another factor is also the inhibitive cost of receiving treatment. I mean, on average, per what I have heard, it will cost you anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500 for most of the cancers in terms of treatment when you find it early. And some of them, like the leukemias, the cancers of the blood, could cost about $7,000 plus. For the ordinary Ghanaian, that is inhibitive. And that is why part of why we're here. How many people are actually able to foot these bills on their own as far as the Curable Teaching Hospital is concerned? Are there many?
Very few. Just about 1% of the patients are able to foot this bill.
Wow.
And so most of them don't. Unfortunately, childhood cancer is not covered by the National Health Insurance treatment and diagnosis. So most people would not even be able to take care of their children who have cancers.
Let me put this pointed question to you. We have breast cancer, which is there. It is covered. We have cervical cancer, which is covered. As a pediatric oncologist in the making, as you get there, do you feel, as someone in the medical system, that we should be considering putting this under the radar or the umbrella of the National Health Insurance Scheme?
Of course. Again, I'll say this. Unfortunately, in children, in Ghana, children are considered a second thought. The children never come first. As a mentor of mine said, adults are given adults are giving their share, and then we expect the crumbs to fall down to the children. And children are not considered special as they should be. If childhood cancers have cure rates of up to 80 to 90% in developed countries, and this is because they present early. There's research that goes on, and then it's covered by their insurance policies. And these children are able to survive and then live to serve the nation. I've watched or I've seen children who have grown up who suffered from childhood cancers, and there's one who is a pilot right now. There's one who is an engineer, and these are in developed countries. And this is because their country made sure that they survived, because they understand the importance of the future generation. Unfortunately, in Ghana, we always wait to give the crumbs to children. So I really think, and I know that childhood cancer should be covered by the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Thank you so much for that passionate plea, or at least how you've expressed it. It's so heart-wrenching, and I've seen some of these, but we'll get to those. But here's an exciting bit that I want you to tell us about. About 96% of these cancers are curable in children when discovered early. And that is the major issue, isn't it? A lot of them come in after having gone to church, worship centers. Yes, there is the God part of it, but the treatment end is also important. After having gone through herbal treatment that is irrelevant in the case, and then by the time they come, it has become very problematic. Tell us about how important it is when you see certain signs, especially as parents, to move out to hospitals immediately to get treatment.
Sure. As you mentioned, it's very curable, especially if it's detected early. So some of the signs that parents should look out for: a white spot in the eye, a new squint, a child who was previously seen and then is not seen anymore, a child who is walking, the child was walking and seen, and all of a sudden is banging his head or her head into things that could mean that they are losing their vision. That could be a sign of childhood cancers. A child who has severe headaches, unexplained headaches. You've done everything you could, but the headaches continue. This could be a sign of childhood cancer. A child who wakes up every morning with persistent early morning vomiting, just vomiting. You've done everything. You've gone to all the hospitals. You still don't know what it could be. This could be a sign of childhood cancer. Any swelling around the neck, armpits, groin area, the abdomen, becoming bigger over time, and you can't explain what it is. You've done everything you should, and you still don't have a diagnosis. It could be childhood cancer. You are bathing your child. You notice that you can feel maybe a mass in the child's tummy. It's painless. The child is otherwise fine and playful. It could be an early sign of childhood cancer. A child who goes to play and then has his bone broken, and you look at the injury. You look at the injury and you think of the mechanism, but you don't think this should have caused this child to break their bones. It could be a sign of childhood cancers, unexplained fevers that persist. You've treated and treated malaria over and over again. Some people say, oh, they've treated for typhoid. But these fevers persist anyway. You can't explain it. It could be a sign of childhood cancer. You're brushing your child's teeth in the morning. Every time you brush their teeth, they bleed around the gums. You notice it. It could be a sign of childhood cancer. You notice that their gums are looking more like, it looks like the gum is growing a little bit more over the teeth. It could be a sign of childhood cancers. So these are some of the early warning signs for childhood cancers. And children who have unexplained weight loss, you've done everything you could. You've gone for dietitians to see, but still they persist. This could be an early sign of childhood cancer.
Wow. So all of this range, we shouldn't take those things for granted. Oh, your child has suddenly lost weight and all of that. Oh, it will happen. You've tried every diet. You ought to take a look at it. But I have heard something else that, throws the spotlight on some of you medical professionals. Sometimes I've been told people go to hospital facilities and we know what to expect with children, a fever here and all of that. But when the fevers persist, sometimes I hear the medical personnel don't give guidance, proper guidance to people that maybe you should be looking out for this, you should be checking for that, because a persistent fever may not be a fever, just a fever after all. It could be another cancer. So what would you say, to other medical professionals out there, and maybe even parents, when you're seeing this consistency? What do you do?
I think a medical professional, especially in a child, is not going to just dismiss a fever that is persistent over and over. Of course, they'll ask for labs, and those labs would guide them. Right now, especially in the districts and then in the CHIP zones, we are raising awareness so that people are on the lookout for childhood cancers. At least a simple full blood count can tell you, can give you a fair idea if a child might or might not be suffering from childhood cancers. Again, the symptoms I mentioned are a range of symptoms, and most children or most diseases would present like that. So it might take a lab test here and there to decide whether a child has cancer. Unfortunately, a lot of parents, especially those who maybe are very close to medical doctors or nurses or anybody in the healthcare field, would maybe want to have a phone call and ask you, my child is this, my child, and they never understand when you mention to them, go to the hospital, because sometimes it might not just be what you're looking at on the surface. So yes, we are creating awareness, especially to those in districts, especially to those in CHIPS compounds, to look out for the early signs of childhood cancers. And I would also advise parents that it's best to go to the hospital, even if you have a doctor as a friend, even if you have a healthcare professional as a friend. Sometimes they might tell you to come to hospital, and it's because they need to see the child and rule out other causes.
Right. I know you have to move on, and we'll have you, take leave of us shortly, but not before just a few things that I want to run by you. Now, when you speak of retinoblastoma, for example, I just want us to focus there briefly, because Adepa, who is here in our studio, for example, had her own battle with retinoblastoma. Now, you've spoken about that whitish, shine or light, when you shine a light on the eye, that whitish tint that you can see. When we take photographs, usually some people now, the cameras and all are trying to avoid that, but sometimes you have what we call red eye. So if you take a photograph, for example, would it show that? Is that something that a parent could look at, and instead of red, you see white? Is that a signal that you should get the child checked?
Yes, exactly. That's perfect. I would actually tell you this story. Like a year ago, we're at the OPD, and then this mother walks into the OPD with her child. And the only reason why she presented was because her eldest son had taken a picture of the sibling and noticed this white spot. And he didn't think it was normal. He was like, every time he takes a picture of his newborn sister, her eyes seems to be white. So he actually told his mother to come to the hospital. At that point, he didn't even know what retinoblastoma was. And it was funny because we're all so excited that, because it was like the earliest retinoblastoma most of us had ever seen. Most of the times when they come in, it's quite late. But we saw this child really early. And we had counseled the mother that the child had cancer, but she didn't understand our excitement. But we were so excited that they had presented early because we knew that there was a cure. So yes, when you take that picture and then you notice that it's white instead of red, it could be a sign of retinoblastoma.
Right. Doc, at this juncture, I know I have to let you go, but maybe your final words right before you leave us. I would have loved to keep you as we have the conversation, but I know you're pressed for time. So maybe your final words in terms of educating people about, these childhood cancers. Maybe speak as well about funding and how we can all do better to aid, the cause of children living with cancer.
So childhood cancers are real. They exist. Children can also get cancer, but the good news is that most of them can be cured, and when they are detected early, they could be cured. I hope to see that childhood cancers would be covered by the National Health Insurance soon. And if you're a friend to someone whose child has cancer, a relative, if you're someone who can help sponsor a child with cancer, it would be very great if you reached out to them to help. Most of the times people reach out to people who can afford, and the next story they tell them your child has cancer, after all they'll die. No, not every child with cancer dies from the disease. Most children would survive and they can go on to serve the nation. So I'll plead with everyone to reach out. You can adopt a child.
Right. Dr. Amwako's connection seems to have a bit of a problem. If she's online, I'll have her wrap briefly right before we go. Dr. Amwako, is it better now? Well, we seem to have momentarily lost Dr. Amwako. If she gets back online, we shall have her wrap properly right before we move on. But there's someone in the studio who is raring to go, who has been trying to get my attention. I'll be shifting to Little Adepa shortly. But Dr. Amwako. Okay, so we appear to have lost Dr. Amwako. Let's come into the studio now and say hello to Adepa, Adjoa Adepa Mafo, who is that little tot you see in your corner, and she's successfully, taken away a QS mask. That is why you see a QS without a mask. Mercy, good morning to you once more. Gabriel. Great. I'll start with Mercy. Now, and Mercy is going to be speaking Chi. I shall do the translation, the interpretation, I should say, as we go along. Yedasa say ene yeshe wa ha e prime morning. Yedasa so say wait me abaha. Na adepano we di be say 6 months.
6 months.
6 months. Na time be na hu say bibi ya to chima wenani.
Only 6 weeks, 40 days.
40 days.
40 days na me. Nti 40 days na me hu say
we dey na hu ye.
Ono a me wo no no ha na ise nani ba ko no ntimi mie no papa. Nti da ko na me na de nti na kola keto ade bia na ise wo mai size aize po ye de kan asem esore. Nti da ko anadwo na bibia me se me hwe nani so. Me hwe nani so na ise left ni bibi da so na me yam hye me nti ade chi ya na me de call hospital wo de hono.
Bibi said that in Bibi I fita
flashing fita. Nti me de call hospital no na nurse na wo hono eye clinic na wo no o transfer me say me fan kokolebu na me ba no de wan kan bibia de o kan ya no say mama nkoye bibidre na me fan kokolebu.
From our warning at that time na say me nkoye bibidre ase.
O mama warning say mama nkoye bibidre na me fan kokolebu straight. Ti ono na refer me mama ko si obi so okolebu. Ti me ko ya na mo kire me say di abani cancer ye ni. Na ne de me te asam ne de anya me da ni sun yie pa.
Me mo shew.
Me yem she me. say ye ba be yi me ba ani yem hye me pa
na omo kan ye mfitiase na because na che say
me koye
mfitiase na o de koye 40 days each na o de koye nti omo koye na o koye na omo kan say ese ni no mutu
me koye na I say me ban say me koye 1 week me san ko biem nti me koye na me ko hu doctor nkasa no se dia aye ni nti e be yi ani no nti omo ma me try stand ni ade so mo ko hwe say bi aka na adwen na say ebisa
say adene enyi nti omo hwe say akaka other parts
I go share no mo see and do baby there was some yan ntem na yes I bet me spread it up
yo yebetwaso enche bia si marketo e bia yebetwaso we shall continue shortly with this conversation. Is getting interesting as we speak about childhood cancers. We shall be right back. Welcome back as we throw the spotlight on childhood cancers. Now, just to go over a bit of what Mercy Mafo, the mother of little Adepa, has been sharing with us. She says it was just about 40 days after, the birth of Adepa that she realized there was something wrong. It was discovered that there was a shining light or a white, whitish presence on top of her eye. They didn't take it for granted. They went to a clinic, and thankfully, the medical professional there told them, well, go to Curable and inquire further, but don't go for herbal treatment. We're not trying to denigrate herbal treatment on the show, but we're just trying to say that some things you need to get the right checks before you start any treatment in the first place. So they went to Curable, and she was disheartened when she was told that her little girl had retinoblastoma. They had to check to find out about the advancement of the cancer. Thankfully, it hadn't developed to other organs, other parts of the body, like the brain. So they had to go through the procedure and take out the eye. And that is where exactly we got to. And every time I'm mokoye, week na etwasono, omakache o say, ese umuyi enibakono, yare no enkodru, impenso bi a say dealing with it ebe den every time equity time omo year operation but how many weeks and then they will
pony try 1 month
1 month
akoni aba akoni try 1 month nti date am de share some be no endu enani nankasa be ho ye
eni start ho
ni start ho ye na me san de call ye so like me ko share nurse ni bi a nyame adom Adepa ho do eto no so nti de bia no bibia na ma frɛ no no se fabra cause Curable ni say yan share wo da wo kokra no kra ye
uni appointment on
but ono de nyame ye na adom edu ha na o ma mi ko hu doctor na o ma ye ko ye o ma me eduro se mi fengusu for 3 days se mi de gusu na antwetwe de age me ko gi kimu ansa but so me ko gi kimu
na chemotherapy
ba ye di gusu na ba form etwetwe na omo ye no operation nti e da mu wi operation na ni Monday na me de ba de bi omo gi kimu no na me gi kimu
nti yanka ho asem aye say chemo no ano ye den impedifo kra omo ye chemotherapy na ebi no omo timi tutu
we ni timi na tutu
chese mi amitimi nti na ye de we na hye no ni timi ni na etutu esa na de amanie pie na ebre omo yaw pie na Adepa nema be no fam
no more fam de ni ti na akwaje eduro ne so ba na wa ye bote ndia aisa no ho hia ni bi esun ketenkete ni ade na ni timi ne de na onwi pa ni nwini na eyigu ye
chemotherapy no mod order so ye
ye 20th year na ye ko di last
nti I say de abrase kakra ya wona abrase kakra and so much idea etimi no besan so what Mercy is telling us about little Adepa, who couldn't give a toss about all that is happening. She's so full of life and it's so beautiful, but she's basically saying that after a month of about engaging on the matter, they were able to have the procedure for Adepa extracting the eye. basically. If you see her now, you wouldn't notice because she has a prosthetic eye in place, and she'll age with it, and they'll keep changing it as she grows. She also spoke about a nurse who was very helpful to her. But to wrap on this bit, she says the chemotherapy, as we all know, is very harsh. And Adepa, if you saw that little glimpse, she's lost all her hair. All her hair is gone, sores, a bit of pain here and there, but she's much better and she's still alive. And that's the most important bit. Into no obo kabesing. Osha na ye ka eka ho asem say akolanya cancer say na eka bono edoso. Every time na besi this time, apart from support ikuya ne foundation ne asefo ebuano. Wo ankasa wa boka besing.
Oh, come on, body, can 50 million there. Ebeko.
Just say 5,000 Ghana cedis there. Eko.
Cause so quite a more scan ne labs near the idea of Bayan. And easy. I'm normal abba from Namia don't possess a coshia foundation for no more boy, Kakanka. And as you see, and senior Tiano say. I was every 2 months be a yako eye clinic in Yamukoshe. And I see a co theatre, be few or not 10 million.
Hey,
Auntie Nano. Auntie, now on in the foundation of my boy, and Tina sure of my past, saying she are dear. Cause I ban a son, I ever pass away to my baby, sir. Tinyamia domina, a dish or more boy, Kakanka. Nedro, I collect it over Nedro beside Drew. 5 million. Collect it so chemo now.
500 cedis. Into moko chemotherapy no session back will be 500 cedis. Wow. Wow.
So easy.
Into Busiana sign and wait me a manage.
Busiani de I thought I be cry over back all fair cry ya na edi. Cause baby me feed the baba kolebunu. Me back cry na edi but mbe do dia nyame ya adom. Omo boaye. A funny no 70 years, by say, on funny support. And now more, Namia told me some more be some more foundation for no more because Okohono be near about time. A boy, a lot of fair crowd be feet, baby, or 1 hour background, no, you been to now what now. And only how I from pass, because someday.
Now, who could know how dear, or
boy, begin in India, no boy, but. Nemua na nedwuma so be ye basa oni obi na ye adwuma minim se nipa ne te no fi se bi obeyi sika e wadwuma e de amanti ba bi o no se onfi ho enko ba bi foforo no se ontimi nyesa nti ono so e ma ni bufu ye de woja ye adwuma nti si anotifia bibia nko so mi kra de me se nko onye we ko ne kaka akra nso se sa na se nipa no ni trust woni mu fi se bi de ba ne yare ni nti Obewi esika o seden ti amanager eduma oti fie sisia ti emu de den pa.
So per the story she's telling, they've spent over 5,000 CDs, and of course it's very cost intensive and they are still trying to grapple with the cost of it. But let me quickly come to Gabriel Lenugo, who is a 10-year-old. Gabriel, how are you this morning? Great. It's great. You sound so energetic, so lively. What cancer do you have? I want you to mention the name.
It's leukemia.
Leukemia?
Yes.
A cancer of the blood?
Yes.
How was it discovered that you had leukemia?
Please, the time that I saw him, something swallowed my neck.
You had a swelling on your neck?
And my armpit.
And your armpit too?
Yes, and I had a rashes on all my body.
Rashes too?
Yes. Then we go to some hospital. Then they tell my mother that they'll cut the thing, the swallow on my neck. They'll cut it and send it to Curable. My mother did not allow. Or my grandfather did not allow. Then they said that if we not allow that, they should cut the thing. Then they discharge us. We should go home. Then I go home, come and stay home. Then my mother called my grandmother that we should come to Accra here. Then they bring us to Curable. We go to polyclinic. Then they give us referral letter.
Okay.
We come to Curable. Then they say that it's cancer.
Right.
My mother cried.
How did it make you feel? Did you understand what it meant that you had cancer? Did you understand at the time?
Please, no.
You didn't understand?
No.
But later when you came to understand, how did it make you feel?
Please, I'm afraid.
You were afraid?
Yes. My mother too will cry. He suffer on me. The money that my mother spent is not small.
It's a lot of money.
Yes.
About how old were you? You are now 10.
Yes.
Around what age were you when they discovered the swelling on your neck and your armpit? Do you remember?
Well, 6 years old.
You were 6?
Yes.
So it's been about 4 years?
Yes.
Wow. So right now you've gone through a series of treatments.
Yes.
Have you done chemotherapy as well?
Yes.
For how long? Or for quite a long time?
Yes.
Are you still doing chemotherapy?
Yes.
You're still undergoing chemotherapy?
Yes.
How is it going?
Please, if I take the chemo now, I'm feeling fine.
You feel fine?
Yes.
I know it has prevented you from going to school like you usually would and all of that. How did that make you feel?
But now I'm not going to school again because of the sickness. So I'm not going to school again.
But thanks to Ekia and her support, I know they organize a few things for you, and at least you can learn a few things.
Yes.
I know in the end we're going to be talking about reaching out and all of that, but I want you to just, as you speak to Ghanaians, to share the reality of your problem, and tell people about why children with cancer need support. I just want you to open up and share with all of us, what kind of support do you need? How important is this support from all of us to you?
Please, like how?
So you are talking about money, right?
Yes.
How important is it that all of us come together and support children with cancer?
Please, I want that they should help us. But daycare people too is helping us. If they want to buy my chemo, it's almost to getting to 10 million. So I want to help me. So they should help if they help me, my mother too will not suffer like that.
I love the way you're so concerned about your mother. You're a very tender child. Let me come to Ekia Sapong, and I'll be coming back to you, Gabriel. So this is the reality of the situation we face, and you are the arrowhead of, in fact, you are Executive Secretary for the Lifeline for Childhood Cancer, Ghana. Why cancer?
I'm a parent myself. I also have had actually a child with cancer. We lost her, and this was 2018, and we battled for about 2 years. She had retinoblastoma, so that's cancer of the soft tissues. Yes. And her soft tissue grew in her belly. So we did chemotherapy. For a while, then it kind of got worse. So we were lucky, in fact, we were privileged. So we continued our treatment. We started our treatment in Curable, but we carried on in South Africa, and we had to stay in the hospital for 5 months, chemotherapy, surgery, and thankfully, chemotherapy was able to shrink the tumor. Okay. So surgery was successful, it was localized, and we came back, continued the treatment, finished it, did our maintenance, and we're fine. Right. We're fine, and she relapsed.
There was a recurrence.
There was a recurrence, so it metastasized, affected her lungs, and yeah.
Wow. So sad.
Well,
my condolences.
Thank you. So that's how come we're involved in childhood cancer. So I've had experience as a parent and
so it's a personal experience, and it's opened your eyes to the reality, and you decided to come up with this group.
It has.
On the bit of cost, though, just because you mentioned it wasn't just in Ghana, you went to South Africa as well. How exorbitant was it?
It was. It was
huge.
Huge, yes. I think without even including travels, just the medical part, we paid about $40,000, just the medical part. So, I mean, with the travels, with staying costs, with everything, gosh, $60,000, $70,000 easily. So it's
$60,000 to $70,000 easily.
Yes, but rhabdo is a lot rarer. It's one of the rarer cancers, so it's a bit harsh, it's a bit extreme, so it's quite expensive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look, generally, what are some of the challenges, apart from money? I mean, there are real emotional, physical challenges. As a parent with a child who had this, what are some of the challenges you can share that you go through?
Too many. Money, of course, money is everything. Yeah. When money is tight, family struggles.
If it's chemo, you need money.
If it's everything, you need money. And of course, if money is tough, it causes rifts. Yeah. I need it, I don't have it, I've got to do it. You can't work. So whenever you come to Curable, you see the moms. Moms normally would have to give up work. You have to give up your life. Some treatments run for 3 years, and you can't work.
You have to be with the child consistently, but at the same time, you must pay the bills.
You must pay the bill. Someone is going to pay for it. Because, I mean, for instance, she's small, so she can't leave her bedside. And of course, with children with cancer, immunity is always low. So you always have to be very aware of if she's sick, has she got a temperature? You know, if any other child got a high temperature, you wouldn't fuss. But for a child with cancer, you run.
It's a big deal.
It's a huge...
Because anything could happen.
It could be anything. It's a huge deal. So you really can't work. So you're in the hospital for months on end, years on end. If you have other children, they suffer because mommy's not there, daddy's working, children are alone, they have to raise themselves. So while you're fixing one, the other ones are falling apart, literally.
So this is real life, and you have to juggle all of these moving parts.
Too many moving parts. And,
so now that you've situated the conversation in this light, what is the role of your foundation, Lifeline for Childhood Cancer Ghana? You're giving a lifeline to them.
Exactly.
But tell us exactly what you've been up to, what you've been doing. For how long have you had this foundation?
So Lifeline was launched in 2018, September 2018.
Right.
It was, in fact, the brainchild of Professor Lorna Rena. She's the head of oncology in Curable. Amazing, in fact, remarkable woman. So because it's not covered under national health insurance, I mean, even in my time there, you see a lot of parents, families coming in, they can't afford it, they would go. And it's really a difficult decision, but an easy one. They've come, let's say for Gabriel, she's come all the way. Their other siblings can't afford it, so it's easy. I'll go back, I'll take the child back and just wait it out. The child will die, unfortunately. And so it's a tough decision for a parent to decide which one of the children should live and die. And so...
I mean, we don't get to play God, but in such instances, you're forced to. So make the choice.
Yeah. So it's not covered. So there had to be a foundation that would even allow support and donations, because for all the treatments and all the support that we give, it's all coming from corporate Ghana, from friends, from individuals, from churches. From anybody, from parents who've had past experiences. So, you know, our support base is wide, and we really literally have to beg to help these kids. So we needed to set up an umbrella where we could channel support, you know, and to be able to account for it. So that's how ACAM was set up. So we have an 8-member board. Okay. The first lady is our patron.
Rebecca Kufuor.
Yes, yes, and she's been amazing. She's very deep in child health as well. I know
she's very involved in such
very heavy in child health, and we're so grateful for all her support. Our board chair is Dr. Yawedu Jenfi. He's president of AGI.
Okay.
Professor Rena, of course, is also on the board. We have Dr. John Ahinkra. He's head of anatomy, but he's also a parent as well.
Right.
We have Mr. Kelly Gajapo from Enterprise Group. He's been amazing as well as a board member. Gustav Siale, Irene Abuchi, and myself. Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did. So we have an 8-member board, amazing board, superb board, and they're all very deep and entrenched in this fight for childhood cancer.
And I'm sure they've all been hands-on, helping in, their respective fields and generating funds and all of that.
Absolutely.
But what do you say has been the impact of the foundation? It's 3 years on.
Yes.
How many of these children's lives have you impacted? I guess you can't even count.
We count. We have to count. So we essentially raise money for treatment and care for chemotherapy, radiation, surgeries, diagnosis. Of course, if you don't diagnose, you can't even treat it. And then for living costs, for transportation, because like he said, if they go, they won't come back, and would have abandoned treatment. We do a lot of awareness creation to ensure that parents and caregivers are able to see the early warning signs, because it's curable, and if we see the signs on time, if it's presented early, would be able to cure it. Childhood cancer is indeed curable. We also have a full-time teachers on, who teach the children while they're on. We do beats training and accessory training for the moms, because for her, for instance, they would be there for the 18 months, so we give them alternative income generation activities. We do birthdays for every child, because they spend a lot of their birthdays in the ward. So we do activities to cheer them up. We have a craft department that helps with doing crafts, so at least they're engaged.
So you're doing everything to help.
We do everything.
When it comes to their surgeries and, for example, little adipose prosthetic eye, do you contribute towards that as well?
Yes, we did. Hair surgeries, we've contributed. Hair chemotherapy, we contribute to everything. So we do the whole package, the financial, the emotional, the psychological care, during the treatment, because it's very intense, and they really need, as a parent, talking as a parent, you need someone to hold your hand, to even let you understand the terrain. Right. And what to expect, how to deal with it, counseling, these are all intense periods where we come in to provide the support.
I want people, and I'm sure a lot of those listening to us can give something. We all can give.
Yes.
Imagine if even all of us gave 10 CDs put together.
Yeah.
How much would you say on average your foundation expends, let's say, in a year or 6 months on these very precious children? Just to give people a proper feel of how much goes into this. Okay,
so you asked an earlier question, how many have we supported? I can tell you for last year, we supported 220 children.
220 children?
Yes, and we've been so privileged to get support from Well Child Cancer UK. And they give us support for the treatment components of what we do. And we supported 220 children last year, 2020. This year, as of July, we had done 144 children in different areas. So yes.
So by and large, it's looking at around the same figure of about 200. And off the top of my head, if I'm even to use a base rate of $1,000, which is like the basic, that's over $220,000.
Yes. I mean, mind you, not all of them are new cases. So we have the new cases that come in, and then we have continued cases, because if a case lasts 3 years, so we have new and continuing cases. So it varies. But we raise money from anybody who is listening. So for instance, September being Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, we have this campaign going on called the C4C, Change for Change, where we are encouraging people, you know how we have change in your bag, in your car, you don't really respect it, the 10, the 5 CDs, the 20. If we all put it together, it really adds up. So we're asking that, let's start with our change. I'm not asking you to go into your assets and investments. It would be nice if you could, but let's start with our change. Let's start with small things. It's important that people take this serious, because with childhood cancer, you don't know when it's coming to you. It really jumps at you. It really, really. I mean, for me,
I'm touched. I'll speak to you off air, and we'll see what in our own small ways we can.
For me, I'm very middle class. I'm a professional. our children don't get cancer. It's other people, God forgive me. In our minds, your minds, everybody's mind. Right. You think it's far away from you, but it's
closer than you think.
It's really closer than you think.
How can people reach out? Before we wrap on the matter of NHIS not covering this and what your plea would be and hearing from Gabriel, how can people who wish to make donations do that? How can they reach out to your foundation? So,
get in touch with us. We are on Instagram, on Lifeline for Childhood Cancer, GH, on Facebook on the same. We can be reached by phone. If it's okay to give the phone number.
It's all right.
0243 221 222.
Okay, so that's just slow down.
0243 221 222. Okay. And then also we have a Momo Contact, and that's 0555 751377.
Could you go over that again?
0555 751377.
Right.
We need so much. I mean, I think it's our moral duty to support these children. It's no fault of their own. Their families can't afford it. And to think that for every 100 children, we lose 80 because they can...
We lose how many?
80.
80 out of... Yes, out of basically because it's 20%. Yes.
We potentially lose 80, but we can... It is curable, so if it's presented early, we don't need to lose the 80.
Let's wrap with you right before I come to Gabriel for the final, the conclusion on NHIS not covering this and what your plea is, because... it's really affecting them. What is your plea this morning?
I think it's a travesty. It's cruel that children are, like Ella said, we get the crumbs. Children don't hold a placard. Children don't vote. So somehow we're invisible. But we claim children are the future. We claim children are our hope. But as Ghana, we don't treat children by what we say. And it's important that you see us, you see that we need our help. There's a lot that is required. So we need our bank to support. We need to get on national health insurance at all costs. We shouldn't even be discussing that in 2021. And like you said, cervical is covered.
Yeah, breast cancer.
Breast cancer is covered.
Why not childhood?
And for breast cancer, for a mom who is 70 and has breast cancer and is getting free treatment, and for Adepa who is 40 days, 6 weeks, but can't cover her care. I mean, she's a doctor incoming, like I said, she's a journalist. She was tagging at your thing, she's inquiry. Look at him.
She has such a curious mind. Who knows? She could be our first female president.
Look at Gabriel. He's vocal. He has clarity. He could be the next president. And if we look aside, and we look, and we don't see him, what are we saying? What are we saying as Ghana? So, help.
Well,
we need help.
I am touched, and I don't know about you, but we all can come together and save some lives. And if you want further inquiries, you can reach out to us, and we'll give you the details of, the Momo number, as she's mentioned, and also that all of us can chip in. If we chip in, it's said that if we all help, support, keep the sky up, it will not fall. Yeah. Gabriel, you're a strong boy. You're very strong, and I like you keep hope alive. You would want to be healthy again, right?
Okay.
You would want all of this to be gone, right?
Yes.
So what is your hope? What is your prayer? Do you pray?
Yes.
When you pray, what do you pray to God for?
I pray that if they help me, this sickness gone, it should not come back again. But they should help, those who help me too, they should get the money again.
Those who have contributed,
yes.
You pray for them so they will get the money back.
Yes.
Wow. Do you pray for your mom?
Yes.
What do you pray for her?
He should be long alive. Should help me. Since this time I am in class 4, should stay alive. I should finish my school before. If he will go and leave me, he should go. like that.
Well, it's so touching, and this is where we have to draw the curtains. But let me also acknowledge Mercy Mafu. It has to be brave, say, and Wabakai who had to drink como. And you have one pie, so sending at the Pabibia between Mano. I want to say a very big thank you to Gabriel Lenugo, 10-year-old. Keep the fight up, yeah? Don't give up, you'll be fine. Mercy Mafu, yeah, that's to be brave. And to Ikia Sapon, who is actually Executive Secretary, Lifeline for Childhood Cancer Ghana. I think all of us should be thanking you in Ghana for the good work you're doing. God richly bless you.
Amen.
And keep it up. And we'll do our little bits to support. Thank you so much for coming. We're still in the month of creating awareness for childhood cancers, and you can always call in to contribute your quota as well. This is where we draw the curtains on this conversation. There's more coming up on Prime Morning. Do stay.